Aloha, this is Dave Mitchell with Employee Assistance of the Pacific. We provide employee assistance services to over 200 businesses across Hawaii, and I'm happy to share some tips with you today that we're sharing with these businesses that I hope will help you manage some of the human issues that come about as Hawaii starts getting back to business as safely as possible and redesigning just about everything we do. I'm working from home right now, as are a lot of people, out of necessity and out of fear. I was terrified that my crew would catch the virus, and I'm still concerned. We're all trying to stay clear of this nasty bug, especially those of us at high risk. We're all trying to stay positive and get through this as best we can, and some days it's hard. Because my wife and I are the owners of Hawaii's largest EAP, we had to make sure our team was here for the long run to serve our customers. So we've all had to adapt to working from home, working a few feet away from the refrigerator, with our dog barking in the background, construction noise upstairs, just so many distractions. But we're adapting. And now we're figuring out how and when to return to work safely. And we're busy working out all of those pesky details, as are many people across Hawaii. My presentation today will share on three things. First of all, the impacts that we're seeing in people, how we believe those impacts will impact those returning to work, and how employers can help. My goal is not to downplay the COVID-19 threat, nor to exaggerate it. My goal is to share my experience from other disasters that have impacted businesses, as well as to share what we're seeing so far in Hawaii. And these are the 6 impacts we'll see, and I'll walk you through each one of them. The first is to take a look at how COVID-19 has shaken up our worldview. And for many people, this has been the most dramatic change that underlies all the other changes. Just last year, the US was rated #1 across the globe in readiness for this kind of event by the Global Health and Security Index. Yay, we're #1. That was a good thing last year, but we weren't prepared. And now we lead the world again. But now it's in cumulative deaths due to the coronavirus, and also in the number of cases per capita, and the most new cases. We're still #1, unfortunately. But we're lucky to live in Hawaii, where the numbers are more promising. It's hard to put this coronavirus into scale. I grew up in the Vietnam War when it was a big deal that we lost 58,000 Americans. I responded to the World Trade Center attack after September 11th, when it was a catastrophic loss of almost 3,000 citizens that shook our world. I assisted the victims of Hurricane Katrina that had maybe 1,800 fatalities. But COVID-19 trumps them all. Maybe I shouldn't use the word Trump here. Over 100,000 deaths now in the US as of today, and over 350,000 deaths globally. And those are numbers just so big we cannot wrap our heads around the numbers. So we're feeling shaken up, and that may impact a lot of things for your crew. They may worry more than they used to. Interestingly enough, we surveyed our companies and they told us that they expect that employees will be more worried about bringing the virus back home to their families than they were being exposed to the virus themselves. That's how important Ohana is here in Hawaii. Many of your workers may generally just feel more unstable. Their productivity may go down as they're preoccupied with other things. Their concentration may be off. They may be absent more. They may even, when they're at work, not be there 100%. They may have been using alcohol and drugs more while sheltering in place. They may have had more family challenges, and mental health issues are probably not just helped by this epidemic. So here are a few things you can do to help these employees who are feeling shaky. First, it's important to involve employees as much as you can to help create new ways of keeping a healthy, safe, and confident workplace. They're feeling disempowered by this, out of control, helpless over a huge global pandemic. So the more they feel you are taking their input and their fears into effect as you're considering new ways of working, the better they will feel. Number 2, work with employees and HR to roll out any new changes. And number 3, it's important to pay attention to those workers you see who are shaky or unsafe or just not there in the same way they used to be before. Listen to them, offer them support. When people are feeling shaky and unsteady, knowing their boss is concerned and their employer is behind them often makes a huge world of difference. The second impact I'll review is the perception that everything has changed. Our lives, our work, our routines, our ability to see family or friends, socialize, feel safe at the beach or in the store, everything's new. Who could have imagined before COVID-19 that here in Hawaii, something could have closed every Starbucks, let alone every school or beach or hotel? All the changes have simply been unthinkable. So since so much has changed, it's important to know that not everyone loves change. Some do, they're your change warriors. You may also know who your change grumblers are, or those who resist change at all costs. They're feeling so many changes already that they have no power over. So fighting change at work may be the only place they feel like they have some control, some voice, some power. Be aware that these are the people who are going to struggle more and create more issues for you. Your employees may need some help dealing with the changes in their lives and their work. Certainly childcare is a huge problem now that schools are not in session. Employees may need to work with you to make changes in their schedules or their work, or to work more flexibly or work more from home if that's an option. Many of them have postponed medical appointments or surgeries and will be asking for time off to deal with those. Or they may be sicker at work than they used to be until they take care of those issues. Those of your workers who are clean and sober and working a recovery program for their addiction or their alcoholism may have struggled over the past few months and may be shakier because of the changes. They may need additional support or to be reminded of your drug and alcohol policies, or that help is available to them through their EAP. Similarly, your employees who are using counseling support have either been receiving this through telehealth or they may have stopped entirely. So they may not be feeling the same level of support they had in the past. So here's what we can do to support workers dealing with too many changes. The first is the toughest ask of all: create a culture of understanding and transparency. It's so important at this time to empathize with employees and the changes in their adaptations and be transparent about the reasons for your business changes, and to let them know that you understand how those changes impact them. We asked our corporate customers last week what kind of trainings they wanted now, whether they wanted trainings on fear and anxiety, stress, change management, that sort of thing. The highest ranking training they requested was on creating a culture of support and trust. So because we're feeling right now how important this is, do what you can do to reassure employees that you're there for them and they can trust you. This will go a long way. Also let your employees know how much you appreciate what they are going through and what they are doing to build this culture of support and trust. Number two, it will make a difference if you understand that they are distracted and impacted by this and worried about their health and their family. Let them know that you get this, that you understand that. Number three, help them adapt to the new realities in their lives, like childcare challenges, and design policies that allow flexibility. It's important to let them know what you expect them to do if they're showing symptoms of the virus instead of just coming to work, and to encourage a quick mental health break if they need one. The third impact is that people just aren't feeling safe. We're in a global pandemic, of course, so it's not appropriate for us to feel totally safe. Life now is scarier for most of us, as many of the things we took for granted before just aren't safe, or as safe as they used to be. Even though we're looking forward to things opening up again, as this happens, many people might feel more worried and afraid, especially those at high risk. Hospital workers call us afraid of bringing the virus home for obvious reasons, justifiably so, and so have grocery store clerks and hardware store workers and restaurant workers and all the essential workers that have been continuing to work while a lot of us are tucked safely at home. We're teaching our employees about the differences between healthy, normal fear and anxiety that tends to take over territory, playing out the worst possible scenarios. We try to normalize fear as it's a healthy reaction to some danger, but also warn people about when fear starts to cross over into anxiety, what to do. We're teaching employees about the range of fears and what to do along the way if they feel those fears are ramping up into anxiety or panic. We have a great free online training on our website on this topic that's available to everyone as well. And what's also important to keep in mind is that some people will get hit harder by fear and anxiety than others. If you're a survivor of childhood trauma, if you have a history of a major illness or a current one, if you're a combat vet or have a history of addiction or living with an addict or alcoholic, or if you've recently experienced a major loss, these people may get hit harder by the trauma of this pandemic and need additional support. So again, some tips for employers to help people with these fears. Number one, learn to be a good listener and actively listen to your employees. That's job number one. Number two, as you're listening, continue this into a conversation. What are their specific fears and what reasonable solutions do they have? If they see a specific danger, an issue that you need to address, it's better to address that now. But start by seeing if they have a good solution that you may not have even thought about. Number three, address their questions and fears as quickly and honestly as possible. Number four, see how you can accommodate those people at high risk or who feel like they're at risk. Be as reasonable as you can about coming up with a win-win solution. The fourth impact is that people are likely to have bigger feelings than usual, bigger than you might expect, bigger fears, anger, grief, and so forth. They're dealing with their own bigger feelings as well as their ohana's bigger feelings. So prepare yourself for dealing with bigger feelings that occasionally ooze or splatter or erupt. Even if they're telling you things are fine, their big feelings may start to show. Obviously, they're not going to tell you everything that worries them, because nobody tells their boss everything, because we all like our jobs and our paychecks. But they may be telling you more than you've ever heard before. That's one major reason companies have an EAP, because as companies grow, the leadership doesn't have the time or the energy or the expertise to help employees with their big feelings. And if you're getting eruptions instead of oozing and splattering, don't forget to call your EAP. In our EAP, we're getting those calls about big feelings consistently. At first, it was the fear and anxiety that first responders on the healthcare front lines were feeling. Then it was the issues about adapting to working from home. Then it was the furloughs and the layoffs and the financial challenges. And now it's big feelings, the next wave that we expected. Employees and managers and HR and CEOs and leadership teams are calling us every day to help them figure out how to deal with these issues and move ahead. So here's what you can do to help people manage their big feelings. Number one, let your employees know how important it is to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Don't micromanage your employees, making sure they're productive 40 hours a week, as this often backfires. Keep in mind that employees working from home are going to be distracted, and that crises at home will occasionally be more urgent than work. And on the other hand, don't let employees work endlessly from home. Help them set boundaries so they don't overwork. Keep in mind that employees who are returning to work again are going to be distracted after being at home. It's hard to go to work again after you finally become an expert on third grade math or all the Harry Potter movies. So they're going to be distracted. Number two, anything you can do to provide something positive to your team will help. Promote breaks that build morale and trust and sustain a good team. And here in Hawaii, food is always important. And number three, promote those resources that help with the stresses they're feeling. One of the most proactive things you can do is to let your employees know about the resources that help them deal with their stresses or their big feelings. Certainly let them know about their EAP if you have one. Make sure people know about the support that's available to them and that it's free and that the services are confidential. Normalize reaching out for help in these challenging times. Let them know about whatever benefits your EAP provides, including counseling support, legal, financial, eldercare, consultation, coaching, support after a traumatic event, trainings, including any online trainings available. We have just bombarded our customers with flyers, reassured them that we're providing our services through telehealth, provided information for supervisors on the issues related to the coronavirus. We've added a whole web page with coronavirus resources, and now we even have online YouTube trainings available 24/7. Work with your healthcare insurance provider and come up with a plan to promote any services they are offering to support your crew. Telehealth services are important. Mental health services through telehealth. Disease management tips for those diseases like high blood pressure or diabetes that are worsened by isolation. And support those who are catching up on any missed medical care that they postponed while sheltering in place. And any other wellness or well-being benefits that you offer, now is the time to promote these, whether it's a relaxation training or meditation or yoga or even adult coloring books. We provide my wife's book, 52 Weeks of Wellbeing, for free for anyone who wants it from our website, a weekly series of emailed PDFs that support Gallup's well-being categories and takes care of people while they're having some fun. Number 5 lets you know that we're all grieving. I think that grief underlies just about everything we're seeing. Here in Hawaii, we've so far escaped the prediction that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of us were going to die. We haven't been hit by the massive deaths seen in New York City and elsewhere, yet we're still dealing with grief. We're grieving the loss of hundreds of thousands of people across the planet. And here in Hawaii, we're dealing with the loss of jobs and paychecks. Native Hawaiians are grieving. They're getting hit harder by the virus than was expected. We're all feeling what's called anticipatory grief over what's coming down the road on a global scale. I'm grieving lots of little things and big things, not being able to visit my kids and grandkids on the mainland, not seeing my coworkers every day in my normal routine, not being able to get to the neighbor islands, not being able to do a training like this face-to-face. We're all grieving lots of changes and losses, both big and small. You might have heard of the cycle of grieving that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross developed: denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. It's a helpful guideline to take a look at where you are in processing something that you've lost, whether it was changed, or where you're spending most of your time and energy. And for many of us, the recovery process isn't going to be a smooth curve after all. It's going to be messier. It's going to be bumpier. We're going to be all over the place as we navigate our way through this pandemic. So here's what we can do to help employees with their grieving. Number 1, understand that it doesn't take a death to have a loss. So keep employees on your radar and ask how they're doing. But only ask if you can listen and empathize with them. Listening and letting them know that you care makes a huge difference. Even when you can't make everything better in their lives, it makes a difference. Number 2, you might want to consider training your supervisors on how to recognize those employees who are struggling, what the warning signs are, and what to do to get them some help. Number 3, keep in mind that the losses and changes will continue. When we finally adjust to this way of doing things, we're going to have to make changes again. We're all figuring out how to do this one day at a time. And number 4, keep in mind that resilience is a two-way street. To stay resilient, you need to give support as well as receive it. So make sure you are receiving support along the way as well as giving it. And lastly, the 6th impact is just to be aware of the many impacts that this has had on our businesses, our jobs, our lives, and our families. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. And the hard part for many of us is that none of us have a crystal ball or a good map, a good roadmap for what's ahead. Lucky us in Hawaii, we're number 1 when it comes to unemployment. Yay. Or is it number 3? It depends on the day. We've had so many people out of work. It's just heartbreaking. Seeing our boarded up hotels and restaurants and businesses is just hard on the heart. This impacts, the impacts that we're seeing for these months will be seen for years to come. So it's important that you take care of yourself during these challenging times. You've had business impacts, 401k impacts, your plans on vacations are all canceled or rescheduled or dropped. Your family may be going through changes and seeing impacts. All the work you've done, spending with all the complexities of this, take their toll. I was up the other night at midnight doing some PPP calculations. I worked too late on some trainings I had to deliver. Now I'm developing new online documents and processes for our 75 counselors across the state. And I've been responding to some challenging situations at the same time. It's just a lot. I'm having to use all the self-care tools in my toolkit and look for new tools. It's important for us leaders to be honest about our challenges, and seek appropriate adult support when we need it. If you have an EAP, don't forget to reach out for support yourself when you need it. And if you don't have an EAP, call me. I'd love to change that. And if we take good care of ourselves, we'll be better able to take care of our crew. We'll be better able to help them with their uncertainty, the fear and desperation some of them have, the background issues going on, the ordinary struggles with their coworkers that aren't going to get better when one of them feels the other one isn't being safe. We're all changing priorities and schedules. Some are facing health challenges. We're all just trying to figure out how to retain and support talented employees that feel engaged with our company and ready to work every day. It's more important than ever now to keep your employees safe and let them know your company is a place they can trust, that you have their back, and you're doing all you can to keep your company resilient as well as keeping them resilient. And that resilience for them, their resilience truly matters to you. Letting your employees know they matter will help them get through this bumpy road ahead. So the advice here, again, is number one, to listen repeatedly. Number two, involve employees in how you're keeping the workplace and them safe and confident. Number three, keep in mind that doing these things helps them feel empowered at a time much as scary. Number four, work with employees and HR to tweak existing policies and procedures to make them more applicable to the changes needed for your workforce. And number five, watch out for employees that are having a hard time and support them. Encourage them to call their EAP, or if you don't have an EAP, to reach out to their healthcare network for support. There are a lot of resources available to help your team, and you don't have to do it all by yourself. This is a time when we're all needing outside experts to help our businesses survive this pandemic. We all need to be looking for creative, new ways of sustaining our businesses and our employees. So that's my feedback. Mahalo for what you're doing for our workforce here. Please know it makes a difference. All my best for any bumpy days ahead. And make sure to share any lessons learned, as we're all in this together. And this is a chance to grow together, to come together as a global culture and learn and grow. It's not a competition. So if there's any way my team can help, don't hesitate to let us know. Our number is 597-8222. Call us anytime. Mahalo and stay safe.